Good day, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Love Shack, baby. I hope you're having a great day and you're ready to vibe with the tribe. Y'all will agree with me that the energies have been literally off the charts the past week, along with both emotions and the attitudes of some individuals, if you haven't noticed. We're closing in on July's very powerful new moon while the sun is blasting us with all these sun flare activity. Today, we are going to talk about these incoming energies, along with covering many events and predictions that are once again falling into fruition just over the past week, friends. Starting with the major uptick in volcanic and earthquake activity. Alaska being hit with that powerful 7.3 quake, followed by many other significant sized quakes that hit the same exact area. Russia being hit with a large earthquake and several others. Who's next, friends? Who's next? We all know that a massive sized quake is approaching. We know it. We've been feeling it for a while, friends. We know it's approaching, and earthquake activity has been more than doubled over the past few weeks as far as 4.5 magnitudes and higher. Crazy. More water events. A lot more water events, as I warned in my July forecast, with more still heading our way in the coming weeks and months. Over the past weekend, floods hit Pakistan, Spain, South Korea, Ireland, United States. The New York subways flooded out as I warned was going to happen. And friends, we're still in this strong water energy and it's about to get stronger by the end of the month. I'm going to explain to you exactly why. And that's going to take us into the month of August. So these water events haven't stopped, friends. They're just continuing to intensify. And speaking of strong water activities, I warned about accidents on water, right? Accidents in the water, on the water. I warned you to be very mindful if you're doing anything water-related events. And I had even witnessed a vision, if you recall, of a tourist boat capsizing. And this is a sad reality, friends, that hit over there in Vietnam over the weekend. Well, also my warning about fish. I saw visions of tons of fish washing ashore. And also warned months ago of the dangers around bacteria hitting the waters. Where they would close beaches, which we also saw happening. Well, as far as fish washing ashore, this is happening big time and hitting our friends down under really, really hard, friends, really hard. And wait until you see what's happening down under. I'm going to talk about all that today. Along with the markets, which were down as predicted, and XRP is way up as predicted, and about to rise again to all-time highs, just like silver, also previously predicted. All while the United States puts this alleged ban on CBDC currency. I'll fill you in on all the details and what this means and where crypto's going and metals and the whole realm and the future currency that's going to go into place, because there will be several before one goes solidly into place. All of this today, along with the continued Epstein saga, of course, and the truth. And I have some information about that for you, some more predictions revolved around that. We had the child rescue that happened in California last week. The creepy passing away of the paranormal investigator and the creepy doll, Annabelle. Do you know about Annabelle? If not, I'll fill you in on her today. She's a creepy one. And lots more today, friends, to feed that there prediction addiction on this July 22nd episode. Number 176, moving up there in numbers. It's Tittle Tea time, baby. Well, friends, a fiery weekend of emotions and energies continued to flow in over the past weekend and past week, all while we all continue riding these current energy shifts and tsunami waves. And I sure hope, friends, that you are riding these waves like a pro surfer, because you're going to need to be during these times. Otherwise, you could end up falling off into the deep waters. We certainly don't want to see that now, do we? Absolutely not. So back on Friday, the 18th of July, we really began riding those large waves as Mercury began to go into its, still movement in the sign of Leo. Remember, friends, that now through August 11th, be aware of the retrograde effects, the do's and the don'ts of the retrograde. Like, for example, do not start new things. Instead, finish things that you never got to get finished or never got to complete. Utilize this time of window to clean out the clutter, friends, to reorganize things. Yesterday, I started this process. I started this process by clearing out, and organizing a closet, some of my kitchen cabinets, taking everything out, cleaning, reorganizing, which I'm going to continue doing in this window of time. I have several more closets and cabinets to conquer, friends. So what do you plan to conquer? What do you plan to conquer in this time? Remember, take advantage of retrograde. Let us know in the comments below what you plan to conquer, and perhaps, clear out that garage or the attic that you've been talking about cleaning out forever. Donate some clothes out of your closet. When you make room for, clothes by donating them, universe is going to bless you with what you need so that you can get more new clothes. It's a good deal, friends. It's a really good deal. Donate things, get rid of things. This creates a good karmic vibration, especially when you clear out all the clutter. When you clear all the clutter, it actually creates a good feng shui energy flow throughout your home and office, which is really important. If areas of your house are cluttered, areas of your life will be cluttered. So take advantage of this time window. And remember, this is a time where you're going to experience delays, any type of delay that you can possibly think of, friends. Whether it be travel delays, of course, and cancellations with trains, planes, and automobiles. The main reason that I plan my travels for after August 11th, so maybe perhaps you'll do the same if you're planning travels. And if not, just at least expect delays when you're out and about. This is also going to affect all forms of communications. So outages of cell networks, internet outages, other systems like the 911 emergency system outage that we saw in Pennsylvania last week. There'll be more of that too. And of course, cyber attacks that will be blamed on outages. Some of them will know. And I feel that these major outages are going to hit stronger, especially when we get to the very late week of July, and more so as we step into the early days of August. And one thing that I have noticed in the recent past during these energy cycle shifts, usually during these shifts is when major events, controversy, truth, and so forth come out, right? That's usually always what happens. One of the things, for example, that pops in my mind, the whole lockdown, 2020 thing. That was all announced during the Mercury Retrograde energy shift. Interesting enough. So things come out during these cycles, big things. But lately, friends, I got to say, the past year or so, I noticed the biggest of these events happen soon after we exit these cycles. As if there's been a delay in the cycle. As if there's also been some type of shift with this energy shift. What happens don't happen during now, it happens so much after. Which is interesting. I noticed that probably about a year or so ago. So I'm going to say mid-August into September should prove to be a time where major interesting events are going to occur as we come out of it. We'll see that strike with people late August into September with their health as well. So take care of yourself. Be mindful. We're just a couple days, by the way, away from the July new moon in that fiery sign of Leo. Spirit tells us to watch things closely this coming week, beginning today. And now I'm recording this on the 21st in the evening. So basically today, but especially even tomorrow, start paying attention and because there's going to be, Spirit says, watch things very closely. Just watch things in the world closely, especially when it comes to a higher uptick in Earth's activities. This coming new moon, especially backed by the fire element of Leo, it's a radiant time on the planet, friends. It's a radiant time, actually, to plant your intentions for creativity, leadership, or just to live out loud and proud, baby. Live out loud and proud. This lunation is all about stepping into our power, friends. Calling back your power and stepping into your power and doing so with boldness and with grace. Now, if you need some assistance with this, I can actually help you with that, friends. Of course I can. If you need some assistance with this, into stepping and learning how to step into your power, I did a guided meditation a while back, years or two ago. The video was called Calling Your Power Back. It's a guided meditation, very powerful, which I highly recommend that you start utilizing on this coming new moon and then the next few weeks while we're in that waxing moon cycle. Great time to call back your power. I'll leave a link above. and down below in the description. Now, this new moon also can and will be awesome, no matter what. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome, especially if you take advantage of it, of course. Got to take advantage of this coming waxing moon cycle, friends. It's all about growth and manifesting. Manifest, manifest. So get out there and manifest, friends. And one thing this cycle is going to manifest naturally is more controversy in the world when it comes to world leaders. And a world leader, making bold, sudden moves, unexpected moves out of emotion instead of acting on, a good, strong mind. They're acting on emotion. It's not always a good thing, friends. Don't react. And what did I tell you in the July forecast? Don't react. Don't overreact. If you don't react, then you definitely won't overreact. Don't react, especially to people. People are crazy right now. They're cray-crays coming out. They can accuse you of things and lie about things and make up rumors about you, and just don't feed into it. As my father would always say, when they stop talking about you, that's when you should worry. When you're talking about you, you must be doing something right. Or even again, if an ex contacts you, don't respond. Ignore the emails. Ignore the text messages. Don't feed into it. The energy shift, it's intense. So again, in turn, what we're going to see is bold, sudden moves being made by leaders. We're going to see more resignations and more folks falling out of power, just as we need. Let's just hope that the new ones that go into power aren't as bad or worse than they are. And this energy shift, this cycles back up the energy of folks. It's going to intensify the energy of folks falling from position. Intensify it, because we were already in that energy. But this new moon's just making it even bigger and stronger and better. And this could also mean, certain leaders being taken out, if you know what I mean, friends, if you know what I mean. So going back to the whole Leo thing, Leo rules over the little ones, the children. So I would tell you to expect that, no matter where you live on the globe, that you'll see some type of education reform taking the forefront, while also witnessing justice around, the little ones, around children in some form or another. So therefore, I would expect to see more large rescues around the little ones, such as the one that just played out in California. I talked about that in my video I did on Thursday of last week, if you missed it. The little ones that were rescued from a alleged, more than a dozen, or was it 2 dozen? 2 dozen that were rescued, or almost 2 dozen, from the alleged abuse of these, a Chinese couple, excuse me. So expect more crazy stories like this to be hitting headlines in the coming weeks. And prayers to the little ones. Let them receive the justice and freedom they deserve. Now, I feel this is also going to present us with on the world stage factor. I just hit the mic, my apologies. The unraveling of several huge scandals around world leaders, especially, and around some of the royals, the royal families. And I know there's lots of royals. They count as world leaders. But I see royal scandals, big scandals around the royals. And I don't know which royals. Probably a little bit of all of them. A little here, a little flavor there, a little flavor there. But big scandals, friends. And we all love a big scandal when it unravels before our eyes. I like the entertainment personally. So I expect this to be happening right here in America too, without a doubt. Likely around the president of the United States. Because as far as his numbers are concerned and the transits and his what's going on with him, this shows very, very difficult times right now and ahead in the coming months for President Trump, for him personally. This is affecting his health as well. As I told you a while back that he was going to have problems arising, that there was stuff going on with his health, and I talked about his heart as well. Now, we just heard about it coming out that something about his veins and, the swelling of the feet. And, they're hiding something, friends. They're telling us very little of the truth. He's not well. Not well at all. And he's in for a hard time, And I said back in 2016 that he would be elected for 2 terms. And he would not make it through his full second term. And I still stick with that strongly. Spirit has not showed me anything differently. And again, that goes back to 2016. And people said, oh, you were wrong. You didn't win the second time, the previous election. But he came back and won now, didn't he? And now he's older and, big problems. And, I feel like that'll probably be right around 2027 because that would be the third year of a second term, like Spirit said in 2016. And he'd also be in his 4th year, and that could have a big effect on health. We lost Queen Elizabeth in her 4th year. So very, very possible, very possible. Could be sooner, depending on how the deep state cabal is working. We'll have to see. But being Leo, again, rules also the heart. I would say in the coming weeks that we could likely see both the collective kind of move quite boldly in response to some type of ongoing humanitarian crisis. So perhaps related to the predictions of coming mass earthquakes and tsunamis. Because right now, I'm sure there's quite a few humanitarian crises taking place, like we see in Gaza right now. And I'm sure there's places across Africa that are having humanitarian crisis. But I've been talking about, humanitarian crisis since my 2025 forecast and predictions for the year. The 9 vibration rules over that. So we'll even see that even more in September when we're in the double 9s. Humanitarian efforts, large losses of life, and what have you. That's that 9 vibration. So far this year, we've been lucky with some of that. Very lucky. But we're only in July, and friends, July's not over yet. July is not over yet. Still plenty of time. Many things can happen in a shorter period of time. Now, with the strong fire energy coming in, I would tell you to also expect there to be record-breaking temperatures, record-breaking sudden drought in some areas, and sadly, wildfire activity. And we're going into Leo season and the Lion's Gate on August 8th. So that's going to intensify this ability to heat things up across the globe even more, which would affect, again, more of the waters, bacteria, and so forth. And, even though there will be record heat, fires, and so forth, water and floods are still a huge influence, friends. I can't stress that enough. And remember, Spirit told us a while back that there would be areas that would go from dry or drought to severe flooding. Remember, Spirit told us to watch specifically areas that were dry, drought, and heated up. They were going to be the areas that have to be put on alert. So we got to watch closely. Now, especially as we approach the end of the month, friends, on July 30th, when Venus enters the watery emotional sign of Cancer. This is when the energy is actually going to soften for us just a little bit. Cancers are all about nurturing, right? All about nurturing. So this is going to shift our focus towards our home, to our emotional safety, and receiving the loving support that we all deserve and giving that loving support. This is a kind of a really sweet and beautiful close to a very, very intense month of July. This also empowers the already prominent element of water, which could make more sense of tsunamis hitting the latter part of July into August. Remember, Spirit warned us, tsunami season, they're coming. We just saw the tsunami warnings for Alaska. They didn't get any, luckily for them. But look at all the activity that's happening. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's literally, the activity and all, it's all literally going to be tripling when it comes to the effects of water specifically. Like that effect that we've already seen, the floods we've already seen, that's going to at least triple in the coming weeks and the coming month, even into September. But mainly, now we're in it. It's crazy. Wild stuff, friends, wild stuff. And whether it be more catastrophic flooding through the storms, again, tsunamis, or even rogue waves of unusual size, this is going to heighten the potential when it comes to waterborne bacteria and other issues related to water. So be mindful. Make sure you have water. There's going to be water shortages for some area. Remember my visions of seeing water being shipped to certain areas to help, likely after a disaster of some sort. So especially as we approach, the end of this month and move into the month of August. We will also see tensions rise over water. So water shortages again, and even tensions in the water borders of countries. So like along the borders of countries and out in the ocean or the sea or what have you. And this could actually, unfortunately, initiate some type of conflict on the waters as well. Especially in the areas of what popped in my mind was the China Sea and then also the Black Sea. And I feel some type of issue that's going to arise also around fishermen, which I stated this months ago in predictions. I had deja vu when this came to me when I was, today. But problems with fishermen and fishing. And I don't know what those problems are. They could be multiple issues with problems. Besides fishermen being pushed out of certain areas like they are in Japan and other parts of the world where they're pushing the fishermen and the commercial fishermen are taking over, that will become more of a highlighted story that we'll see. Things like that. Problems with fishermen where again, bacteria and they can't fish. So multiple issues that arise around fishermen and the whole fishing, industry in general. I would expect maybe some truths to come out from the fishing industry, especially that farm-raised fish more than anything. That stuff's toxic, right? You know that, I'm sure you do. So this would be highlighted. This would be a very highlighted time for all of these issues to arise. All of these issues. Again, all water related. This is also when we could see issues begin to arise around real estate and housing. More focus on the borders and border security and coastline policies and what's happening on coastlines. You're going to see all that in coming weeks in between now and the end of August. And again, those policies along the coastline that affect fishermen. Sadly, this can also bring about issues around water disasters. For example, chemical or oil spills, along with strong focus towards the pollution of waters and the pollution that's in the waters. So, and that's what we need. We need more focus on these things, friends. We need them to talk more about these things. But overall, the next week is going to remain pretty intense. Emotions are still on the rise. While things get a little more softer, a bit quieter, at the end of the month before that next huge storm energy approaches. And as you know, it will. Good day, beautiful souls. Once again, I hope you're having a great day, and I just want to take a moment to welcome you to my channel, back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Joseph Tittel, and I welcome you again back to the Love Shack, baby. I'm a spiritual medium, and if you want to find more information out about me, you can do that right directly on my website, josephtittel.com, Tittel, or just spiritmanjt.com will take you to the same place where you can schedule and find out what's going on. Not a whole lot going on other than scheduling right now. That's where you can find me. Nowhere else. If you see me on social media and you get messages that appear to be me, please be cautious. I will never email you asking you for things, and definitely not asking you or offering you a message from the spirits. They are phony. Report those profiles immediately. And again, if you're new here and you want accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, you want to vibe with the Love Shack tribe, or the Tittle tribe, or whatever you want to call the tribe, then smash that there subscribe, the bell, and the all, so that you get notifications. And know that you can catch me each and every week, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on where the world you are. And again, I am recording this on Monday night so that I can get it out to you bright and early on Tuesday. Tittle Tuesday, that is. Now, down below in the description, you'll find all the links to my social media. You can find me on Spotify or Rumble and TikTok, whatever else. I'm out there. You can find me. All the links are down below to make it easy. If you want my short predictions and just predictions, follow me on TikTok or Instagram. That's where I post every day. I post at least one, from past videos, of course. If you're missing videos, you might be missing some good predictions, especially channeled predictions. So be sure to check that out. And a big thank you to all those supporters, whether you're a member of the YouTube community below, a monthly supporter, or a supporter of the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community, also linked below. I thank you and the contributors that contribute to this channel. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude. I couldn't do it without you, and I love you lots. Lastly, don't forget to click that thumbs up love button, friends. Please do. It helps get this content out to others. And, sharing is caring, so share this with others. Share it on your social media platforms. I appreciate that you do. Let's move on to episode 176. Boy, oh boy, we're moving up in numbers now, aren't we? Let us begin this week's important events with the major uptick in volcanic and earthquake activity that's happening right now, friends. Just as Spirit told us it would in mid-July, and here we are. And as you know, especially if you watched my last video that I put out on Thursday of last week, Alaska was hit with a very powerful 7.3 quake in the red, baby, which has now been followed by many other significant-sized quakes hitting Alaska. The first shaking, of Alaska was that 7.3. Then Alaska got hit with another 6.2 shaker in the red yesterday. So things are heating up beneath the earth, friends. And that's not including the hundreds of other earthquakes that they received that were not in the red. So, but to receive 3 or 4 big ones in the red in the same spot, that's pretty significant. Things are stirring up, just like Spirit warned. Now, if you recall, Russia was a place that I warned pretty recently. And I remember someone left a comment in the comments below. Do leave a comment in the comments below, claiming Russia does not get earthquakes. I don't know what the heck you're smoking, but hello, Russia is right along the ring of fire. So yeah, they get earthquakes. And that's exactly where the first of many in the red earthquakes just hit in Russia, right along that ring of fire. Starting with the first being a 6.6 in the red. Then that was the first one, which was interesting because the second one was even bigger. That was a 7.4 that hit the same exact area on the 19th. And then on the 20th, there was yet another in the red 6.6, followed by yet the second one on the 20th of a 6.6 in the red. And hundreds of other quakes, not in the red, in the same areas. In the same area as Russia, the same area in Alaska. And then still continuing. The last I looked this evening before I started recording, it's 6 p.m. here in Sedona, Arizona on Monday evening, the 21st. And the last in the red earthquake was another that hit the same area of Alaska. Again, a 6.2 on the 20th. So Alaska had another big one that hit. And again, now it's Monday the 21st when I'm recording this. So I would tell you to expect that there is likely going to be at least one or several more in the red since the time of me recording this and the time of you watching this. Perhaps several again. Myanmar was another place, and we remember about their big quake they had earlier in the year. They were hit with a great shaker last week in accordance to the earthquake map. As of today, there were 196 quakes that were 4.5 or higher in magnitude just over the past week. Friends, the normal average, and I know not everybody's been following long enough that we talked about this in past videos, especially weather videos. The normal average, when I look at, the map, it's always below 100. Usually, I'd say between 75 and 85 a week. And that's 4.5 magnitude or higher. So now, we're seeing more than double the average, friends. 196. And that was when I looked this morning, and then it was down to 195 or 194. So it went down a little bit. But that's still, friends, that's more than double the average and almost the highest amount that I've seen in 1 week, in at least a very long time anyway. Especially with so many in the red shaker zone. So many. Big uptick. So friends, hold on tight. More quakes are coming. And I went into more detail, actually, in the video I did on last Thursday, pointing to vulnerable areas that I feel are going to be hit in the very near future. So be sure to go back and check out that video. I'll make sure it's linked above or down below in the description. Well, friends, the spirits continue to warn of coming flood events, which I covered in my July forecast and predictions. And this is just the beginning, and we're in mid-July. It's going to intensify, as I told you, as we get towards July 30th alignment. So over the past week, so many more floods, friends. So much water, starting with our friends and family in New Jersey, where they've received record flash flooding. And my warnings and visions of seeing water gushing into the New York City subway, or a subway. I don't know if I said New York, but I saw water gushing into a subway. And I did warn New York City because I did see flooded New York City. But look at the footage of the floods and the waters gushing into the subway just as I saw in visions. That came into fruition. And it's pretty crazy, friends. And it's only going to get even crazier and way more common. This is going to become a common ground. Washington, D.C. was another one that, had a lot of flooding. Although I didn't see that one coming. I'm not claiming that one. Didn't see that one coming. But I see more for New York City, a lot more. I see devastating floods in New York City. So that was just a little something. That's nothing compared to what's coming. And now look at the aftermath of the severe record flooding that hit the folks in South Korea. It literally looks like a tsunami wave swept through the entire area. Very sad. And prayers to all the folks affected by all of this disaster across the globe, not just in one place, but every place. Now, I stated, we would see many bridges collapse and fall, right? Well, most I said would be from weather and earth events, earthquakes, and water being sweeping them away. But look at the flooding that hit China and Nepal, both, causing the Nepal-China bridge to be swept away completely by the high waters. Sad, friends. Sadly, the water swept along a lot of people, too. And the devastating footage. Look at that devastating footage. Crazy times, friends. Crazy times. Crazy weather. It's only going to get crazy. And even our friends over there in Ireland experienced heavy flooding and flash floods, sweeping away things in the waters like everywhere else. So what we are now seeing is just the beginning of what's to come in the coming month and in the coming years. So this is just the beginning. And remember what Spirit said, 2025 to 2032, in that window of time being the most, intense time on the planet Earth. And it's only just began, and it's pretty darn intense. Can't imagine how much more intense it'll be. But remember, don't fear, friends. Never fear. Never fear. And never be scared. Always be prepared. And the best way to prepare is spiritually more than anything. So we're going to see people, I had visions of people fleeing coastlines. I see people leaving fleeing to higher grounds, basically. And I also see people fleeing that are near rivers and, flood-prone areas. Not just fleeing, that might not be all the correct term, but getting out. Some fleeing because of, something's coming, they have to flee. That would be fleeing. But I see a lot exiting, not exiting like passing, but leaving the area, selling their homes, or if they rent, just getting out and looking for a new place. And I would say that's probably more intuitive connected. As I say, people are fleeing California like fleas, trying to flee a dog that was just dipped in chemicals. That was a bad scenario, bad example. And, people say, oh, it's the government, it's this, that. And yeah, it probably is, but more of it's intuition and soul contracts that aren't meant to be there to go through the devastation that's happening there, whether it's the wildfires or the big earthquakes that are coming to California. We know it's coming. They're going to get hit really, really soon. I see California getting hit really soon. That was in my video, excuse me, that I put out on Thursday. I pointed to the areas. So again, check out that video. I'll give you a hint. It's more of the southern part of California that I was pulled to recently. Now, people begin to catch on, friends. People begin to catch on with fleeing. Especially they're going to catch on when they start canceling people's flood insurance and raising premiums on flood insurance to unreasonable rates. Just like insurance companies are doing right now with the fire insurance. They're canceling folks, friends. They're canceling folks and forcing them to pay ridiculous premiums, often 10 times higher or more. Like, people can do that, and they know people can't do that. That's why they're doing it. And then next thing you know, this just popped in my mind. Next thing you know, the mortgage companies are going to come. You don't have fire insurance. If you don't pay that premium, you got to sell your house. That's coming. Wow, that just came to me. That's not cool. That's probably part of their plan, too. That's probably a BlackRock plan to take over your real estate. Cancel their fire insurance, and then when we got enough of them lined up, we're going to go in and say, you need to get it or you need to sell. And then BlackRock's going to come in and start buying it up. Wow, that's crazy. Thank you, Spirit, for that information. Wow. That's just crazy to me. Anyway, that same thing's happening right here in Sedona, Arizona now. People in Sedona, Arizona are experiencing the cancellation of fire insurance. Interesting. And they did that outside of Phoenix, where I did see visions of big wildfires. People thought it would be the land that Bill Gates bought there. I forget what the name of that town is right there on the edge of Phoenix. But I drove through that little town, going to California and Mexico to get my dental work done. There's not much there to burn. It's like there's not much there to burn. Interesting enough, that where his land was. I mean, yeah, there's lots to burn out there, but just not that land. It's all kind of bare land. Pretty desolate, little bushes, that's about it, not much. I mean, fire, I'm sure, could sweep through it, but not like in a wild way. There's no trees. So there you go. That'd be a better example for you. There's no trees, just little bushes here and there. Desolate land. Gates. Anyway, the devil. So anyway, yeah, that happened here. And the same thing is happening all over the country. Now, I want to know in other countries, friends in other countries. I'm sure you have the same kind of system with fire insurance and such. Is that happening for you? Like our friends in Chile. Do you have fire insurance on your homes and properties? And if so, are they canceling you? I just think of them because they just had wildfires there. Or Canada. They are doing this in Canada, I believe. I think we talked about that before. But let us know in the comments below. I'm curious if this is happening in other countries besides the United States. And if it is happening to you in the United States, let us know exactly where you are in the comments below. Because it's as if they really want to force folks back towards the cities and take over properties and push people out of these rural areas, especially people in the woods, like North Carolina, flood them out, get them out of there so they don't go back. Even though a lot of them people are going to go back, I'd go back, especially if my heart's there. I'm going back. And, even those cities are going to flood too. But pushing people to cities or making people think cities are a safer place to be when they are not. Definitely are not. As the native elders would say to their children and grandchildren, move to higher grounds eventually, especially when the heat comes on. Higher grounds will be cooler. That's what the natives said decades ago, or maybe even centuries ago. So cities are going to flood too. Cities that have never flooded before are going to flood in the future, I assure you. Speaking of strong water activities, I warned about accidents on the water, friends, right? Accidents on the water, accidents in the water. I've even witnessed a vision that I shared with y'all a while ago, not that long ago actually, of a tourist boat capsizing. And this prediction actually sadly became a reality and hit the folks really hard in Vietnam over the weekend, when a tourist boat capsized during a storm surge, plunging folks into and under the water, causing a sad, significant loss of life. Very sad. And prayers go out to those folks affected by that tragedy. So again, friends, I urge you, be extremely mindful, not fearful in any way, or otherwise you're going to end up manifesting something that you're going to regret that you don't want. So instead, just be mindful when you're around the water. It's pretty simple. And be mindful of others. If you're on the water, like a boat coming your way or what have you, like we saw with that gale. I don't know if that was in Florida last month. So whether you're going for a swim, riding the waves in any form, this is a dangerous window of time. So expect to soon hear about also dangerous rip currents, and rip currents being responsible for sweeping many away. I see this around the New Jersey shore, likely because I spent a lot of time at the Jersey Shore and grew up practically at the Jersey Shore, so I connected the energy there very easily, just like I connected the energy in Philadelphia and that area very easily. So that's why I come up with stuff there. And now out here, I notice I pick up things out here more. It's really interesting. When you're in that energy or bathing in it, it's easier for you to pick it up. When you're in another country all the way across, it's harder to pick up information. Isn't that interesting? Maybe I need to visit other places that would help me. Well, I'm going to visit places soon. So very wild rip currents are going to occur around Australia and along the entire west coast from, say, Chile all the way up to Canada. All along there. Very active with rip currents and whatever's going on beneath the sea right there. And then I also feel that in coming weeks, we are going to hear a lot of stories and a lot of rescues around stranded boats. People being stranded out on the boat. Boats, and not just boats, but even ships. Ships that suddenly just shut down. Likely this is a big influence of the current Mercury Retrograde, because that in turn will affect anything that is motorized, electronics aboard boats or ships that suddenly short out or go down. Now, I don't know if boats are hackable, but I get that feeling that there could even be hacks around a ship, not a boat, a ship. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled. And speaking of incidents, someone put this in the comments below. Malcolm Jamal Warner, if you remember him, he was one of the Cosby kids on the Cosby Show back in the day. Unfortunately and sadly, and prayers to his family and loved ones, that he passed away or drowned while he was on vacation in Costa Rica. Sad story indeed. Told you, watch those waters. Don't swim out far. This isn't the time to do so. And also coming into play was my warning about seeing fish being washed ashore and the dangers that I said that we would see around bacteria in the water and beach closures. And we saw a whole bunch in the beginning of July. So many across, not just the United States, across the globe. So many that were shut down that weekend. It was very interesting. That weekend, especially that weekend. I looked not so much lately, but that's just give it time. And then I saw bacteria again hitting the waters, beaches being closed, and I also saw fish again being washed ashore. And sadly, this happened to our friends down under in Australia. And this is very concerning as it's hitting them pretty hard, friends. And this is being blamed on a toxic algae bloom that grew in warm waters. And they said it was floods washing the minerals or something into the ocean, feeding the algae plumes. And this was in southern Australia, in or around Queensland areas. And our friends in Ireland, they're seeing an uptick of exotic turtles washing ashore. Prayers to the little turtles. I love me the little turtles. And all sea life. Prayers to all the sea life. They need it. Because it feels to me that they're struggling like the rest of the world appears to be struggling right now. But remember, friends, this too shall pass. The markets were down. I haven't looked at them today at all, actually. They could be back up. I'm sure they might be. Remember what I said, the markets would have roller coasters, ups and downs throughout the year. While I told you to invest in things like gold, silver, and physical assets. Real estate if you can, but things that you hold on to, survival food, stuff that you could use, generator, whatever. But invest. Really important. Markets aren't the place to go unless you really, really know what you're doing. And even people that know what they're doing are going to end up losing a whole lot of money in the near future on those markets. Whereas when we look at things like cryptocurrency, if you remember, I told you months ago, or actually, beginning of this year, I was buying up XRP. And I told you, XRP, I got that strong feeling about it. And I know nothing about cryptocurrency. And XRP in the past week is way up, friends. And it's about to rise to an even more all-time highs, just like silver. In which I also previously, again, predicted, told you to buy silver years ago. Telling you all many years ago to invest in silver. If you did actually way back when I first alerted you to do so, and you went and sold all that silver now, you would have made a great profit. But don't sell it yet. Hold on to those precious metals, friends. Hold on to them tight like your little babies. Don't want to lose them. Now, XRP hit a second highest ever on the 21st of this month. $3.66. The all-time high was actually way back in January of 2018 when XRP hit $3.84. And that high, according to the spirits, is about to be broken multiple times in the coming year. It's going to go up and up and up. It will fall again, but again, it's going to jump up and up, and there's going to be this sudden moment where it just jumps, like say from, I don't know, what is it at now, 386, say all of a sudden you wake up, tomorrow it's $15. It's going to do a sudden jump and leap. So, but I still feel like there's time where it will go down a bit to get some of that XRP. That high, Spirit says, is going to be broken many, many times in the coming year. So, if you bought that XRP when I told you and I felt good about it, remember, I'm not a financial expert, by the way. You would have purchased it for just around or just under $2. And that's a nice increase, friends. I wish, I could have purchased more of it when I had the opportunity, but I couldn't. I just put in what I could. I didn't want to jump in deeply. I don't like jumping into things too deeply. Because then you could have a deep loss. But now I think, I would have made quite a lot more if I would have put a lot more in. But hey, I still made something. That's all that matters to me. And, again, I'm not a financial expert, but when I decide to put more in, you'll be the first to know, friends. You'll be the first to know. Overall, I do feel, as I stated in the past, that as far as crypto and XRP, XRP is the one that felt the best to me and the strongest as far as energetically. If you watch, I think it was last year, I did a video and I even looked up the numerology and all for it. I forgot about that. I just remembered that just now. Maybe someone in the comments can remind me. I remember looking up like the numerology for them. And XRP, I forget what the numerology was, but it came out to be good. It was good. That was another reason why I wanted it. I'm like, that has a strong energy to it. And I feel that we could actually see a rise of XRP to at least $15, maybe even up to $25 just in the coming year. That's a big jump. I wish I had $1 million to go throw into that right now. I would. And I remember the whole key is to sit on it. Don't cash out what your profits. No, don't do it. Keep it in there. XRP is going to be one of them ones that I feel it's going to make a lot of folks rich, like Bitcoin did. And I don't know nothing about crypto other than going with my intuition. And so far, my intuition's been right on with all of it. Buying silver, gold, XRP, even busted Bitcoin back before it went way up. So, go with your intuition. So far, my intuition's right on point with my little investments. And I know folks are going to ask in the comments about other cryptocurrencies. I have nothing for you, friend. Sorry. I don't know nothing more than that. Again, I'm not a financial expert, and I'm definitely not a crypto expert. I watch tons of videos, listen to lots of it to get myself into it myself, but I haven't explored it in a while. Haven't had time. And, Bitcoin's still a good one. I do feel like there's going to be a big drop in that eventually. I said that I predicted that a while ago. A sudden big drop. Right now it's rising. But XRP, that's my baby. On the subject of digital currencies, too, did you happen to see that the United States placed a so-called ban on CBDC? And that's according to one of the articles or something, whereas someone else is posting online that they're going forward with it. So, what's the truth? I don't know. I know that the trio of crypto bills, which is the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, and the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, and CBC is the centralized banking system. So the DC would be their own digital currency. Remember, the central banking system controls everything in the world right now and has. So moving on, these three will solidify the U.S. dollar hedge fund, or hegemony, spark innovation, and ensure digital money reflects on American values of privacy, individual sovereignty, and free market competitors, according to the Minnesota representative, Tom Emmer. I don't trust any of them. And we certainly don't want no CBDC. We want physical currency. That is a control mechanism. That's the mark of the beast. And AI agrees with me. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Wait till you hear that. That's a good one, friend. So anyway, we certainly don't want that. We don't want that currency. No, we don't want that. No, definitely not. We don't want no surveillance state, even though we already are kind of a surveillance state, especially if you live in cities like New York City, who has the facial recognition everywhere. So does Boston. I remember the Boston bombers. That's how they got caught, through facial recognition. Hello. And that was back then. Imagine what they have now. So the CBDC, that's the plan behind the globalists. That is the plan. That they have been ruling the monetary systems and feeding the war machines for way too long now, friends. Way too long. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And we're the ones that are going to make this stop. How do we do that? By awakening, tapping into the truth. Meditation, of course, I stress that to you all the time. Meditation is the key. And, uniting with other like-minded folks so that we can all spread the word and stop this, totalitarian utopia that they wish to create for themselves, while the rest of us become their little peasants to the elite, the ones that they allow to survive, that is. Not happening. The light will win in the end. The light is winning. What am I saying? The light is already winning. Light is already winning. And we will continue to see a rise in silver and in gold. And I would say watch silver closely for, a significant drop before jumping back into silver right now. I wouldn't. I just looked at silver. It's like $39 and some cents per ounce. Wow, that's high. I knew it would get high. It's going to go higher too, but I knew it was going to get high. I told you this years ago. When I started to tell you to buy it is when I started buying it. And it was at like $22 an ounce then. Now it's at $39 an ounce. It's almost doubled. If you bought it back then. Now, I bought some that was also closer to $25 an ounce. I think that's the most I paid for some. Yeah, I think so. Because I wouldn't go any higher than that. I said, don't buy it once it goes over that. Wait until it goes below 25, buy more. So we'll watch silver very, very closely. I don't watch gold because, not all of us can just buy gold. I have some grams of gold and little pieces of gold that I bought, little grams and little other things in gold. But that's about it for the gold. I have lots of silver, though. Tons and tons of silver at the bank. Yeah, I hope you utilize this event, friends. I hope that you did utilize this advice when the time was prime. And I hope you utilize it again because the time will be prime again. I kid you not. Now, I stated in the past that I feel that there's going to be a new physical backed currency. Likely, backed by gold is what most people think, but I feel, like I said a couple years ago, that some type of new genius idea to back currency is going to come. With some type of new form of currency backed by some maybe new form of minerals. I don't know. I can't imagine what that could possibly be, but it feels genius to me. And we are in the time of geniuses and little geniuses growing. It's lots of little geniuses on the planet right now. Spiritually tapped in. That's amazing. Now, I feel that we are going to see at least two attempts at new currencies before we find one that solidly falls into place. And that, friends, that's going to be a few years out. That's not here yet. The other ones are, which makes me think that the BRICS, that whole BRICS system, is probably one of the first of the two that are going to fail. Likely so. As Spirit said, the first two will fail. Third one will be solid. But that will come later. Maybe 2028. Or 2027, 2028. Somewhere around there. Perhaps. Maybe sooner. But two will fail. And it looks like BRICS is going to be one of them. That would be my gamble if I were to bet on it. We'll have to see what happens. Watch that economy, watch those prices of those minerals and crypto very closely. The Epstein saga continues, as I told you in the past. They continue to all cover it up, friends. They keep covering it up and covering it up. That's what they do. It's all just cover-ups. But truth is already coming out. Truth is already out, friends. We already know a lot of the truth. We know it. That's why, people are like, we know what the truth is, especially if you are intuitively tapped in and tapped into the networks and channels like this that give you the truth. We know what the truth is. And we know more and more truth is coming because we are in those times. Remember, also karmic debts right now, karmic debts. So for the president to blame this whole thing all of a sudden on an Obama hoax and a Comey hoax, it's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Remember, Epstein was arrested on President Trump's watch. He allegedly, was on a live on President Trump's watch. So for a president to blame this all on Obama, I just think this is kind of ridiculous. Because you know why? This is why. Because we all know that the Clintons, the Obamas, and all of them are a part of this. This is the globalist web of darkness, friends. And which they're all caught up within. Once you get to a certain level, you ain't got no choice. They suck you in some form or another. Whether it's, and there's different branches, these are just examples. So we have the Illuminati. We have the Freemasons, which some people think are the Illuminati. They're all weaved together. You have, the Skull and Crossbones Society. You have all these different societies that are all separate but also connected. See what I mean? When they're all weaved together, they just do what the devil tells them to do. That's just the way it works. So this global web of darkness, they're all caught up within. And I told you before, believe me, you don't have to believe me, but I told you, Jeffrey, I felt from the day that we heard that news that he's still alive. Believe what you will. And this was a strong feeling from the day we were told the big lie. Because it was a big lie, no matter how you look at it. And they got him out. They got them out. They got him out of there. I'll put money on it if there was a place to put money on it. And now I remember someone, I think about a week ago, stated in the comments that someone else, that she put in the comments is a very reputable psychic, said the opposite of you, and that he is deceased, and basically demanded that I explain myself. Well, all I can say to that is that we can all agree to disagree. I go with what I feel in my gut. My gut usually never lets me down, ever. So we can agree to disagree. And no one psychic is always right. So we don't have to be predicting the same things. And obviously one's going to be wrong, and it's going to be many, many years down the road. But we will, I guarantee you, we will find out the truth about this. Now, you remember years ago, Spirit said a few years back, I think it was in maybe my 2024 world predictions, that the dead would rise and the dead would rise and live again, is what Spirit said. We haven't seen that yet. So perhaps some of my predictions take 2 to 3 years to play out. So perhaps Jeffrey is one of those dead coming back to life? That'd be a mind blower, wouldn't it? That'd be a real mind blower. And the president filed a lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal after they posted an article claiming that the president sent Epstein a 50th birthday card. Be interesting to watch this one closely, friends. Be interesting to watch this closely as to how, that lawsuit pans out. And I think I said enough when it comes to this case, because it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away, and now we have to be extremely mindful of the fact, the very legitimate fact, that now they have had plenty of time to doctor any documents and, change things to their own pleasing, whoever they may be. And the underlying reason behind it is all pretty simple, friends. So many leaders, senators, celebrities, and folks in power are weaved into that web of darkness. And it would blow the lid off of the governments and the world governments, and they would likely collapse completely because so many are guilty in dining in Epstein's restaurants, Epstein and Friends restaurants. So many. It would cause everything to fall apart because there's just so much corruption within that system and all the systems. And this would include, keep in mind, there's going to be more folks that are going to step forward. I assure you. More folks are going to be step forward, of course, be called liars and probably be tortured for stepping forward. I even see one speaking against or about President Trump. So that'll be interesting. So we got to watch very, very closely so that we are not, they better watch themselves very closely, especially so that they're not Clinton like, Virginia Goffrey was. You know that story. Now, as far as Ghislaine Maxwell, she needs to watch her back because they're not going to save her like they did Jeffrey. Definitely. Well, it's obvious, right? Think about this, friends. Think about this for a minute. A bunch of rich, powerful men, right, abuse a bunch of little ones, mainly girls, and the only person doing any time for it is a woman. Go figure. I'm not saying she's innocent or anything, but just go figure how that worked out, right? And once again, they discover, when they discover that she's writing a book, it's going to make the target on her back even bigger and greater. And I feel that she may have actually, what do they call it, a dead switch? If something happens to me, all the information is released. Like that alleged audio of Virginia Guffrey that's going around. I don't know if that's real. I don't trust that audio, actually. I forget where I saw it. I listened to it today, actually. I'm like, I don't know if I don't trust that. For some reason, I just don't trust that audio. I don't trust a lot on the internet, and you shouldn't either, friends. But I believe that Maxwell has a dead switch or something if something were to happen to her, which would be really interesting. And I also feel that she would not write, if she's writing a book, she's not going to write all the truth. She wouldn't write all the truth. And of course, she's going to hide so much of truth, especially when it has to do with her personally. She might call other people out, but let's have some truth and talk a little bit about your own truth. But we'll have to see. She don't strike me as the person that would do that. And we can hold in the light, friends. All of us can hold in the light that Congress drags her butt into the hearings so that we can hear her and hear what she has to say straight up. Alongside with, the coming whistleblowers. Bring them all in. Bring them all into the Senate. Let them all stand up. Let us hear from all of them. So I say, will the real whistleblower please stand up? Please stand up. Oh, they're standing up. We just don't see them in the crowd yet. They'll be stepping up to the stage really soon. Moving on to the creepy death of a paranormal investigator, Dan Rivera, who was a U.S. Army veteran and a well-known paranormal investigator who was found deceased in his hotel room in Gettysburg or near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, my home state. Not my current home state, my previous home state, and I've been to Gettysburg. I had quite an experience on the field of Gettysburg, which I later found out I died on those fields at the age of 19. Interesting story that is. But anyway, Dan Rivera was found deceased in this Gettysburg hotel, which makes it even creepier knowing that it's Gettysburg and how haunted it is there. Dan happened to be on tour with that very notorious and super creepy Raggedy Ann doll by the name of Annabelle, better known as Annabelle. Are you familiar with Annabelle? If not, there's several horror movies based on, created around the whole doll's history of demonic possession and dark things that happen when anything or anyone comes near or in contact with Annabelle. I wonder, friends, do you believe that Annabelle was possessed or is possessed? Do you believe in the hauntings of Annabelle? Dan was on tour with the notorious and super creepy Raggedy Ann doll, better known as Annabelle. Are you familiar with Annabelle, friends? There are several pretty good horror movies created around the doll's history of demonic possession and dark things that happen to those that are around or those that have contact with this doll. I wonder, friends, do you believe in the whole Annabelle thing? And do you believe that dolls can be possessed and the hauntings? She does have quite the record, friends. She has quite the track record. Check out this clip about the passing of Dan Rivera and the whole story of Annabelle.
Hunter and paranormal investigator died over the weekend while on tour with the infamous Annabelle doll. Being Annabelle's handler was a role he took seriously, as we got to see firsthand.
Put on those gloves that have been blessed.
The story of Dan Rivera's death has gone viral online, with some blaming this doll's alleged haunted past for his death. 54-year-old Dan Rivera is seen here in the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut in 2023. He passed away in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania while on tour with the Annabelle doll, an inspiration for movies in the Conjuring series. Rivera died in a hotel room Sunday, July 13th. Rivera was a paranormal investigator with the New England Society of Psychic Research. As one of Annabelle's handlers, he would take the doll to paranormal conventions. He told NBC Connecticut his main goal was to teach others about the paranormal, skills he learned from Lorraine Warren of Ed and Lorraine Warren fame, Connecticut's well-known paranormal investigators now deceased.
I was mentored by Lorraine Warren herself. She made me promise that I will keep doing this with Tony and keep on doing the investigations, helping people. And I take that as an honor.
Tony Spira is Lorraine and Ed Warren's son-in-law. He picked up the mantle of teaching about the paranormal and also curates the Warrens Museum. The doll is housed there, along with other items the Warrens believe were haunted. Some online chatter blames Rivera's death on the doll, while others simply honor Rivera with sadness and notes to rest in peace. Another rumor that went viral, the doll may have caused 3 big news stories in Louisiana. A plantation burnt to the ground and a prison break in Marie Laveau's historic home caught fire. She was a practitioner of voodoo in the 1800s, right after the Annabelle doll was in New Orleans.
I don't believe it was demonic that caused that all to happen.
NESPER members say they are careful to use blessings and not to touch the doll, and the doll should be on tour as a teaching tool.
Our intentions are to continue doing Ed and Lorraine's work, teaching the people about devils, demons, and God.
There is no cause of death yet for Dan Rivera.
This, friends, goes back to the Conjuring movies. Really, really good movies. And that's the true stories of America's most well-known demonologists and paranormal investigators, Lorraine and Ed Warren. Great movies, friends, by the way, if you haven't seen them, great movies. So just look at the doll, friends. Just look at it. I don't know about you, but I can feel a presence that still lives within her. I definitely can feel a presence that still lives within her. Do you feel it? Let me take a really good close look at that creepy old doll there. Yeah, don't call her creepy. She might come for us. She might come for us. So anyway, that's my question for you. My question is, do you think it's possessed? But really, my other question is, what possessed them? What possessed these people to think it was a good idea to take Annabelle across country on a cross-country trip? Bad idea. I think they're getting that now. Objects definitely can become possessed, friends. I've seen it myself. And they can have entities attached to them. Not always bad ones either. They can have spirits attached. Spirits attached to people, places, and things. And that's also entities and dark entities. They can attach to people, places, or things. They have to attach to one of those, people, places, or things. So we know about haunted places, even haunted grounds, not necessarily a house, but just the property. People that have attachments and get possessions, and the list goes on and on. So taking her across country probably was not a really good idea, friends. Probably not a really good idea at all. Another thing, that can have attachments is mirrors. That's a common one. Did in many, many ancient cultures, or many current cultures actually, believe that mirrors are portals, and that departing souls, when they pass away, people pass away, the departing soul can get trapped into the mirror. So therefore, in many cultures, they cover up the mirrors in the house. Or I have a mirror in my house. I forget what country it came from. Someone gave it to me as a gift that has little doors that you open up and use it and close the doors when you're done. So it's very sad what happened overall to Dan Rivera, and prayers to those affected directly by his loss and their loss of Dan. The list of stories and things revolved around this, and the whole Annabelle doll. Friends, those stories are pretty wild. That is a rabbit hole that you can jump down and explore that's quite interesting, especially with like hauntings and creepy stuff like that. Of course I do. I'm a spiritual medium. I've done all kinds of ghost investigations and paranormal activities and so forth. Murder investigations, the list goes on and on. I even did the show for the Travel Channel Network where I went inside the haunted Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia. That was like a dream come true for me too. That video is actually on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check it out. So in other news and predictions today, first, just talking about this 9-year being a year of endings, death of cycles, and I talked about people being, resigning or falling out of power. Well, one of those that was just fired, who my opinion needed to be fired, was Maureen Comey. Do you know who she is? No? Well, Maureen Comey was, James Comey, that guy's daughter. She's a lawyer and an attorney. She was in charge or worked in the Diddy case and the Epstein case. Now she's fired. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. Now, also, did you see, not that I don't care, but I just thought it was interesting to bring up the fact that the network here in America called CBS cut The Late Show. What's that guy's name? I don't watch that stuff for TV like that, so I don't know what the guy's name is. I forget. You don't need to tell me in the comments. Don't care. Don't like the guys. I don't like them anyway. But they say they're cutting it because of costs. Yeah, they probably pay them a lot. But I'd say it's probably, and it's supposedly, The Late Show is the number one nighttime show, supposedly. And they cut it. This is the ending of cycles, friends. The ending of cycles. People don't watch late shows anymore. And those that do are probably the older people, and, endings, death of cycles. We're going to see this happen. The networks are falling, friends. As I predicted years ago, fall of the networks. A big shift in changing in the networks and a big shift in changing of what we see on the telly. Telly's the black box of death. Watch out for that telly, friends. Don't get caught up. So on the other news, and predictions specifically, actually, as I got that there's some kind of big controversy that's going to, maybe even scandal, coming up around Mar-a-Lago there in Florida. Trump's little casa. Mar-a-Lago controversy. So that came to me. And these are just random, these last few things here, friends, before I take you on to an AI adventure. Trump gave Russia 50 days. You know about that. I only bring that up because that 50 days will take us into early September. September when those double nines. That's going to be intense. There's not a Mercury retrograde. I haven't looked at the astrology or basic astrology for September yet. That's going to be an intense month, friends. September. Now, another thing is people were talking about Yellowstone, and there's a lot of videos online claiming that the animals are migrating away from Yellowstone because it's going to blow up. It's not going to happen. Now, I did see visions for Yellowstone and activity that causes partial shutdowns of Yellowstone Park. I also saw major floods hitting parts of Yellowstone Park, also causing closures. And then I also saw some type of wildfire on the edge, and I forget exactly where, because Yellowstone's pretty big. It takes up 4 states. But I did see that. But as far as them videos are concerned, look deeper into it, friends. It's normal migration, and some of those videos that they're showing you are from normal migration that happens in the spring, but they're telling you what's happening now. This is clickbait and fear-mongering on social media to say that that's going to blow. It's not happening, I assure you. If it did, I'd be dead, and I couldn't apologize anyway. Most of us would be. And the rest of the world would starve within a year because that would just be the biggest disaster ever. That would be an extinction event, actually. That's not happening. Yes, activity, blows, volcanoes, all that's happening. But Yellowstone's not going to pop. And the animals aren't leaving in any abnormal way. So I warned about cars being used as weapons. Now, people alerted me in the comments that 30 people were injured in Hollywood as a car plowed through a crowd at a music venue. Well, I looked a little deeper into that, and apparently they said the person was intoxicated or what have you. It wasn't a music festival. They were standing in line outside to get into this. I thought it was a club, actually. So that wasn't really, it still validates cars and watch out for cars, as I warned you. But that wasn't used as an attack on people specifically. That wasn't a fear attack, thankfully. It was sadly an accident, or it's just a road rager who was intoxicated. Another thing in the realm of predictions is I keep getting this great shaking coming around Christmas. And this, I put in my notes, I got this sometime in the past week, it just came to me, great shaking around Christmas or on Christmas Day. Now, Christmas Day here could be the 26th over there, or Christmas Day over there, across the waters. So it could vary. It could be a 2-day window, really. And I don't know if it's a big earthquake that's going to happen on Christmas or some other big shaking, but I got that information earlier this week. I also got information that was in my notes that there's a big change of power that's happening in China. We may not see it right now, but there is a change of power that's happening in China. There's also a change of power that's happening in Japan. And this change of power in Japan is going to cause quite a bit of controversy. And I see more people taking to the streets and more angry people, and especially big dips in their economy coming up in the near future as well. Now, just a few questions from the chat. And then I'm going to tell you about this wild experience I had with AI. But let me get to the chat first. So what happens is you can leave your questions down below. There's no guarantee I'm going to answer your questions. But with a big capital Q, semicolon, in the question. Any other form, I won't say it. And if you don't see your question pop up in the video, it's because I didn't approve it, only so that it stays in my little thing here, my inbox, I guess you could say, my approval box, so that I don't forget. So I don't have to take separate notes of it and end up messing them up too. So first comes from Beeb, who is asking in the chat room, do you see the bird flu taking off? Well, even if it doesn't, they're going to tell us that it has. They're going to tell us again that it's transferring over to people. But my feeling is the bird flu is the really biggest of the concerns. Now, they're going to try to make it a concern, but I don't feel like that's the concern. There's something else that will arise in the future. And I'm looking more towards 2029 for that big outbreak. Time to watch. The next question from Jana. Will kill away a volcano, and I had to put my air on because my camera overheated, so sorry if you hear that in the background. Will kill away a volcano blast affect the people around the observation deck? I'm getting like a no. It is going to blow, But remember, Kilauea is always erupting. It's like a continuous eruption that's happening there. What I got, and I think channel predictions, was it's going to pop, which would be a rather big explosion. I think that'll be distant and feel that that's distance enough from the observation deck not to worry about it, that people will be able to get away. That doesn't mean that the observation deck won't end up burning eventually, but not while people are on it. Hi, JT. This is a gotcha. Where do you people make these names up at? Do you still see the price of gas going up? Well, gas went down. I couldn't believe gas went down. I was shocked by that I paid less than $3. I can't remember the last time I paid less than $3 a gallon. I think where did I pay less than $3? It's above that now, but it was less than that for a little while. It depends on where you live. Like places throughout Europe, that's where gas is going to rise at super high. I'm not so worried about it here, especially with, Mr. Drill Baby Drill in charge. Not really worried about it so much, but I worry about it more for other countries. Russia's going to have major problems. Russia is just going through, they might say they're winning, but it feels like they're being defeated right now. And it's going to be rough for Russia. Russia's got some rough times coming ahead. Moving on. What are your thoughts about the removal of the dam at Klamath River? I have no idea where that is. Which now restores it back to its original state for the indigenous people and has brought back the salmon population. Oh, I think that's fantastic. And I think that a lot of these dams some are useful. Some dams are useful, but a majority of them are useless. Especially being you're saying it brought back the salmon population. Hallelujah. I love me some damn good salmon, baby. I like trout better. Rainbow trout's my favorite. And orange roughy. You ever have that from New Zealand? That's actually my favorite fish. It's hard to find that. You can't find that around here. You got to order that special. Sometimes I'll see it at a restaurant. And of course, I order it. What do you predict for the UK in terms of flooding? I keep seeing dark clouds. Now, I mentioned all that in a weather prediction video, so I would have to recommend you to go back to that because I don't remember what I said other than that there would be severe flooding in UK and even in London. I saw big storms. That was in my last weather video. We talked a little bit about weather in Thursday's video, last Thursday, floods and quakes, and I pointed to new areas, so check that out too. But go back to the weather video and watch that. Oh, for God's sake, says Maria, when is Israel's leader going to leave this earth? Well, I wouldn't wish anybody to leave the earth, but please let him leave power. Please let him leave power. I forget when his birthday is. I forget what year he's in. I talked about him. He's a big target, too. And, the reason he's fighting to stay in power is because there's all these trials against him and all that they're not telling you about. They don't want you to know about that. All the corruption trials of him, and not to mention that he's won it for crimes of conflict. And, yeah. Karma comes around, girl. Comes around. It always comes around. But I don't feel like he's going to be around that much longer. In power, that is. What is the best way this is a good question. What is the best way to handle the Mercury retrograde when your birthday falls into that time frame? Well, Danielle, it depends, really. It doesn't necessarily affect just because it falls on your birthday. I mean, for usually 3 years in a row, it's around your birthday. Because of the way it goes, it moves up a week or whatever each year. I remember I was in retrograde during my birthday for like 3 years in a row. And it really only depends on your sign. Your sun sign, your moon sign, and your ascendant, better known as your rising. Now remember, Mercury rules over Virgo and Gemini. So Virgos and Geminis can always take better advantage of a Mercury retrograde, and they can also be heavily hit by the Mercury retrograde. It depends on how you flow through it. If you dread, oh my God, it's Mercury retrograde, I used to be one of them people. I embrace it now. I know the crazies come out, and they love to attack me, especially in my neighborhood. Unfortunate for them, because now I put my fangs in and I'm about to bite their necks. Other than that, and things breaking down you can't control, but you can take great advantage of Mercury retrograde. Right now it's in the sign of Leo, so if you're a Leo, then yeah, that has a heavy effect. And I did talk earlier in this, when I was talking about the energy forecast in the beginning of today's podcast, I talked about the do's and don'ts of retrograde. So, and I also went thoroughly into that in my July forecast. If you're, if you don't have Leo right now, Virgo, or your Gemini as your rising, your ascendant, your moon sign or your sun sign, then it shouldn't be, you still should follow the rules of Mercury Retrograde, but it shouldn't be as intense on you. So, and just because your birthday's at this time, I don't know whether you're a Cancer or you're a Leo. If you're a Cancer, then you're good. It's not in Cancer. There's a lot of other stuff in Cancer, though. And remember, we got, what is it, Cancer? Yeah, there's a lot in Cancer. Just saying. So it's probably intense emotionally. Now, I'm a Cancer moon, and Cancer's ruled by the moon, and I'm having no problems with this other than crazy people, and I don't plug into that. I smile. Just keep it as it is. You should do the same. Well, friends, I very much hope that you enjoyed this edition of Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time. I love hanging out with my beautiful tribe. I love the vibe with the tribe. I love helping you feed your prediction addiction. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit that thumbs up love button. Please hit that thumbs up love button. That's all I ask of you, friends. And thank you to all the supporters and those that contributed to this episode. I thank you with infinite love and gratitude. Remember, you can join the community below or on Subscribestar. Whatever floats your fancy, friends. And again, I thank you all so much. Don't forget also to sign up to my free newsletter below. It's free. And in the beginning of the month, I send out all what's happening and all the past content so you never miss any predictions to feed that prediction addiction. Other than that, friends, until the next time, I will have something else out probably in the latter part of this week. Not sure what exactly. I'll have to go talk to the spirits and see what they got to say. So until then, friends, remember, be bold, be true, be kind. Be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly and have a beautiful rest of your day. And namaste and much love, friends. Much love.